Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I am Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. I have a little extra energy right now because I'm also on video, making a video that's separate from this that'll be on YouTube. So hello, if you want to find that later, you can. But if you're listening just in audio and that's all you do, that is fine too. But thanks so much for being here. So today's episode is going to be about ADHD and follow through. What do you start doing but never finish, or just can't get yourself to finish, or don't get very far with? I've talked before about overwhelm, and overwhelm often stops us from even getting started. And that is a big part of ADHD. It's a big struggle for a lot of people with ADHD. And it's not just you're distracted, but you're actually overwhelmed and not able to get going. Overwhelm can also stop you from keeping going. You might think, once I get going, I'll just get momentum and I'll go. And that may be the case. Sometimes that's the case for me. And yay for when that happens. It's super wonderful. But if you have tried to get something done and you keep stopping, what is the reason for it? And what can you do about it? Well, I made a list. And I know there are a lot of ways to get lists online from other people or through GTP. Is that what it's GPT? These are from me. This is from my own brain. This is what I came up with. And I have a feeling you can relate to a lot of these. So one could be not knowing how to do what you're doing. So you might start out thinking, yeah, I can do this. And you get to a kind of a sticking point of, actually, I'm not sure what to do next. Or you start going and you get overwhelmed midway, or you just get confused midway and you don't keep going because you don't know exactly what you're doing. And once you find that sticky point, you may give up on it. You might walk away. You might go look for something that can help you, a tool or something, or you might look up the answer and spend a lot of time with that, or just stop because you'll think I'm not ready to get this done. So I'm going to give you a little example from my own life from today. So with this podcast, I had to learn a lot of things to be able to do what I'm doing up to this point, even just recording the audio or setting up this microphone. In order to do that, I had to research or learn a program. I'm using GarageBand on my MacBook Air. And in order to do that, I had to find out, how do I hook up the microphone? How does the sound work? What are the settings? Oh, there needs to be some little interface. What's an audio interface? Which one? So all of those things took me to being here. But this morning, when I was getting ready to make this podcast, I only planned to make it on audio. I have an idea in my mind that someday I might put it on video, but not today. Do you have all those plans that you don't know when you're going to do it? You just know it's not going to be today. So yeah, that's how I felt about that when I woke up this morning. And I had planned to make this podcast episode in the morning. Well, it's 1:31 p.m. right now, so it's not morning anymore. But the distraction for me, so I could have something that actually stops me from doing it, like not knowing how. That's what stopped me from doing that before. But my distraction today was an email. And actually, any of my emails, if I had gotten into them and done what they had asked me to do, any of those could have been a distraction or an interference or the answer to what stopped me from getting this podcast made today. But the distraction that got me really, really off track was an email from a woman who invited me to be on a podcast with her. And I was on a podcast with her a couple weeks ago on the Connected for Real podcast. Well, she emailed me, which was wonderful. I super love her and I'm super excited about it. But she emailed me and asked me if we wanted to collaborate again, if I wanted to do something with her again, and if I had any ideas. And I thought, yeah, I have some ideas. And, we have ADHD. A lot of times we have a lot of ideas. So I had an option. I could have closed that email and gotten to it later, chances are I could have forgotten. I could have just answered the email and said, yes, I think that's a great idea. I'll get back to you on Friday or whatever day, and put it on a different day. And she even said that you can answer back on this email. She said, or you can schedule to talk to me and we could do a little Zoom conversation. And so I thought, oh, that would be fun to talk to her again. So I first went to the calendar to see, are there any soon? Are there any, and there were some, like at 5 a.m, because she lives in Israel. None of those worked. But on Sunday, I could do it. So I decided to book an appointment with her on Sunday, but I also wanted to get right back to her because I love to share. I love to connect. So I decided to email her back and started writing some ideas of what we could do. And she had, I think what they were 4 podcast topics. And I think she was suggesting that she could be a guest on my podcast. Well, I've never had a guest on my podcast. Would I like to do it someday? Yes, but I haven't done it. So I thought in order to do that, I need to figure out video. And anyway, so I started to write some ideas to her. Did I ever finish that email? No, I did get the appointment scheduled. I still haven't emailed her back. But that little distraction took me into hyperfocus mode, into looking into ideas for setting up video. In my mind, the whole time, I didn't think I'd do video today. I just thought, at the beginning, that's how ideas can start out. Like, oh, this is just something I'm curious about now. Do I need to get a new microphone? No, I don't need to do I need to get this? Do I need to get that? No, I don't. But all of that led me off track. I watched a training video for 30 minutes. I opened up about 30 tabs. So distraction, curiosity, and email, that stopped me from doing what I woke up to do today. And if you think about any day that you've started to do something, and whether it's the end of the day or by the afternoon, you think, I haven't even started that yet and I need to get that done. Or you just know the whole time. I knew the whole time I wasn't getting it done. And there were other things that came up too. Oh, you forgot to buy this. Oh, you forgot to do that. Somebody walked in the room. There are a lot of things that come up. But the main thing was that email. And I can go right back to that and see exactly where that happened. And thankfully, it is causing me to create a video today, because that's a goal. And, but anyway, do you have something that may have started today that you haven't finished, or that you woke up wanting to do and you haven't even started? I took a course several years ago on cooking. And it's not that I don't know how to cook. I cooked all through high school and college, but I got out of the habit of cooking, and especially cooking dinner. And I just really don't like cooking dinner anymore. But that was the thing that I used to love to cook. So I signed up for this course. I can't remember how long it was, but every day I'd get an email that would give me steps. And it was mostly about healthy eating. It was by a woman named Daria Rose, and she has a book called Foodist. I love the book because it's a very open-minded approach to healthy eating. It doesn't say you have to eat this way, you have to eat that way. It's very whole food space, but it's more, here's the information, and this is a good, it's more habit-based, I guess, too, of why our brains want to eat a certain way and what we can do to overcome that. So if you ever want to look up the book, it's Foodist by Daria Rose. And she's probably the first podcaster I ever listened to. She changed her podcast years later, and I don't even think it's about food anymore. But back to this course, I signed up for this course. And her idea, because it's habit forming, right? It's all about developing habits, was if you want to cook dinner, take a knife and a cutting board and put it on your counter earlier in the day. Now, if you have little children, don't do this. When my grandchildren come over, I take the knives and I push them back as far as I can so they can't reach them. Because the 3 grandchildren that live here have ADHD, and 2 of them especially very impulsive, hyperactive. Yeah, they're not thinking. So, but at the time I didn't have grandchildren around. So the idea was, if you see that knife, you'll think, oh, I should cut a vegetable. I should I should make some food. And it's the first step, because it's kind of like, just tell yourself to walk outside and walk down the driveway. Don't tell yourself that you have to walk for 30 minutes a day. And once you walk down the driveway, you're already dressed for walking. You may feel like continuing to walk. And if you only walk down the driveway that day, then you have achieved your goal, but that will probably lead to walking farther down. You know what I mean? If you have a long driveway, that could be more helpful. But anyways, the whole idea with that. The problem with ADHD is I would see that knife and yeah, it reminded me to do it, but it wasn't enough motivation for me to do it. And whatever it is that we wake up to do, setting ourselves up for success, you have to make sure that's fitting for you. If you need to wake up and exercise, then you have your shoes, your water bottle. You get as many things ready as you can to make it really easy to do that. But you have to be aware of the distractions. You have to look at the patterns you have in your day that could interfere. If I had not looked at my email this morning, I would have made this podcast a long time ago. It would have already been released. Not that it matters to you. It matters to me more, I'm sure. But I would have accomplished that goal a lot sooner because I wouldn't have been distracted. Other things can play into it. And noticing what's happening in your mind is important because it can help you stop that or intervene. And just like if you can see children who are starting to fight over a toy or something, they see a toy, they both want it. If you see that situation happening and you want to teach them how to share, you can be there to say, well, you need to learn to wait your turn or whatever. You can intervene and help the outcome so it doesn't end in someone hitting someone with a toy or, having a problem like that. You can also intervene and say, oh, we have another toy like this. Here, you have the blue one, you have the green one. And you can help have a better outcome. The same goes for when we know the possibilities of what stops us from getting stuff done and being aware of it and making some choices if time is a factor. If time is a factor and you don't have enough time, if you take all the day to explore a new way of doing it. Today I had a little more time. I don't have a yoga class until 6:00. So I had more time to do it. Still, it was very anxiety creating for me to want to get something done and not be able to do it and not be doing it. It was driving me crazy. And yet I still kept going. I still kept going. I still kept doing what I was doing and going down, that curiosity road. We want to function, I do anyway, the best we possibly can. And giving yourself that ability to do it, giving yourself some guidance, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is really helpful. So I just want to give you some other ideas of distractions that might stop you. And these can all be inside your body or inside your mind. They can be outside, but most of these, I think, once you get going, at least for me, once I get going, there aren't as many outer distractions. There can be if there are other people in your home or if you work in a place with other people, then sure, that can be distracting to have somebody walk in the room. You need to talk to them. You need to answer their questions. You need to give them attention. That can be a distraction. And you either can return back to what you're doing or involve them or put on headphones or something and try to keep it, to keep yourself going. It's not like we always have to go, 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 go. But if you can't accomplish the things that you need to get done, that could be really frustrating. So let's talk about some inner distractions. I mentioned fear, and I didn't talk about it that much. But sometimes you start working, you think, okay, I can do this. You give yourself a little bit of encouragement. Okay, let's get going on this. I'll be just fine. You start doing it and you start questioning yourself and you start thinking, I really can't do this. My example with my video, and I'm not even looking at myself, but there I am. I can't even do this. I cut my bangs today because I thought they're going to be in your eyes. And you wear glasses when you're on the computer. Oh gosh, this is backwards, I think. Anyway, I just messed up my bangs. But yeah, so I trimmed my bangs. Probably not the best. Then you start to question, like, am I good enough? What if I don't do a good job? What if people don't like it? What if it's lame? Any of those things, fear can definitely get in the way. You can probably come up with your own ideas of how fear can get in the way. So what can you do to combat that? What can you do? You can say things to yourself. One idea that I heard today actually is to think, what is your purpose for doing this? What is your purpose? And whatever your answer is, I bring up cleaning the closet a lot because I love to keep my closet organized, but it's not always organized. So I have to work on it every once in a while. And if my purpose is bigger than my fear, I'm not afraid of cleaning my closet, but whatever it is, if my purpose is bigger than my fear, then I need to just let that fear go. I need to just kind of, like you think of those football players when they just go running out on that field. And in the olden days, like, I don't think they do it, they don't do it in the NFL and stuff. But in high school, they actually had banners that were made of, what do they call it? Like the poster board. It's not poster board. They used to call it butcher paper, but the paper on a roll. And then you make the big sign and they go and they'd run right through it and they just burst right through it. And then there they are. And you think of the football player and they're like the strongest person next to Thor. And they're out there, we're going to win and we're so strong and we can just barrel through anything. And that should be your drive. That's your drive. That's your push through that fear. And just tell yourself, my purpose is bigger than my fear. My purpose is to connect with women with ADHD and help them see how wonderful they are and help them know that they can do whatever they want to do. And I can be one of those people too, because I am another person like you with ADHD. That's my purpose. That's why I'm here talking to you right now. So any of those insecurities, what if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if I don't do very well? Just do it and see how it goes. Done is better than nothing. And done is better than perfect. One of my problems with video, and I know that I keep making this about me, that I just have to get it out because then the other videos will be easier. But I don't want to have to do my hair. A lot of times when I make, well, it's not like I do my hair a lot anyway, but a lot of times when I make my podcast, I'm kind of just out of bed, or the end of the day, or I've changed into my sweats or whatever. I don't want to have to put on clothes for a podcast. I have a lot of sweatshirts that look exactly the same in different colors. I have a ton of yoga clothes because I've taught yoga for almost 20 years. So I will probably wear the same thing over and over. I'll probably wear very, very solid colors and not, think about it. And I'm sure that'll be okay with you. You don't care, right? I don't care. We're good. We're good. So getting past those insecurities, telling yourself it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When your purpose is bigger than your fear, you can do it and it actually becomes easier. I had a video block with teaching yoga for years. I taught yoga in person. I taught the yoga on audio because someone asked if I could email her. She said, I'll pay you to email me yoga sequences to do while I'm in France with my grandmother. I think she was going to be gone for 3 months. And I thought, yeah, I could write out a bunch of sequences, but I'd much rather talk to you. And she loves to talk too. We love talking to each other. And she's from England. I love talking to British people. I love British accents. So anyway, I said, what if I just make audio classes for you instead? It was so much fun. I would record them. I just kept them in Google Drive and I'd send her the links. And I think she wanted a bunch of hour-long and 30-minute sessions. And for a long time, I didn't even do it with her. I just sat on the couch and kind of imagined in my mind like I was teaching her. And it was really relaxing. There were a few times I got up and did it, but it was just kind of soothing just to do that and pretend like she was there. But at the time, I didn't even suggest video. It was probably 2017. It was before COVID time, 2018. And even when I broke my wrist, if you're on video, hopefully you don't get grossed out. I have a scar. When I broke my wrist, I really missed teaching the people that I taught. And so I made audio classes for them and just emailed them to them while I was gone, or here's one on breathing. And it was amazing how relaxing it was to me just to be able to do it. But when I was on the heavy painkillers after my surgery, how calm I actually sounded. Yeah, it was kind of funny. But anyway, back to that. When my purpose in connecting with them was to connect, and I was fine doing that through audio. But when COVID happened, and in California, it happened in a very, very big way as far as shutdown times, before the gyms I worked at or the yoga studios where I taught even set it up, I was teaching on video. Every fear that I had, everything in my mind of the reason why I couldn't do it went away. I didn't have the right equipment. I didn't want to be in front of the camera, but I didn't care anymore because I wanted to connect with them. And my purpose was bigger than my fear. So anything that you are worried about, think of your purpose. And if it's scary, think of those football players and run through that barricade, run through it. If you don't know where to start, that's part of I don't have enough knowledge about this. Learn what you can in as little time as you can. If you hyperfocus, which a lot of us do with ADHD, learning can be fun. It can be fun to just get more and more curious and continue to learn and continue to learn and continue to learn. It can also stop you from accomplishing what you want to do. And if you're always learning and getting educated, but not actually doing it, that can just be a manifestation of your fear. That could be, as long as I keep learning and taking these courses or going back to school or watching YouTube videos or however you are learning, if you're reading a book, I applaud you because I've had a hard time reading books for the last probably 8, 10 years, even though I majored in English. But yeah, it's hard to focus on books. I've talked to my psychiatrist about that because I am on medication. And I've talked to him about that. Is there another medication that'll help me focus more? And he's tried a few things, but one of the things he wanted to try just made me have high blood pressure. So I took myself off of it. And I didn't feel like myself on that at all. But if you want to email me privately, I can give you information, but I don't feel like I should talk about medication on podcasts, but, specifically anyway, I'm not a doctor, but yeah. So if you're still reading books, that is wonderful. If you're not, and you used to be able to, look into perimenopause or menopause or postmenopause. I was probably in menopause about then. It was before I was diagnosed with ADHD. I've been out of menopause for a long time. It wasn't a big deal for me, thankfully, but I know it is for a lot of people. But I say that as like the physical things, like the sweating and all of that. But my brain, yeah, I saw big differences, big differences. So, okay, back to that. If you don't know where to start, you don't know how to do something, get the information, get as much information as you need to be able to get going again. And don't feel like you need to be an expert at it, and don't feel like it has to be perfect. Just enough to keep going. Enough where your brain can, understand it and know what to do next and not have to stop a lot. But it may, we do love to plan. We do love to learn how to do things. Maybe you don't. Some people may just be doers. But if you're afraid to do something, there's safety in that learning phase and just delaying it. So recognize that. Recognize that may be the cause of your overwhelm, your sense of anxiety with it. And if you get frustrated that you're not working on what you want to be working, that can be creating anxiety too. Yeah, it's not easy having ADHD, is it? So distractions. Yeah. Anything that can distract you on the outside, I think is easier to manage than the inside. If you have little children, you may be disagreeing with me right now. And I understand that when my grandchildren are here, it is a lot harder to focus on things. It takes more effort to create systems for them too, so you can focus on what you need to. And that may involve them in helping you with it or helping them get settled doing something, working independently, just being within an earshot, any of those things. It is doable, but it is different for sure. It's a lot easier when you don't have anybody else around. So, what if you don't have enough time and you're worried that you're not going to be able to get it done in time? Could that be stopping you from continuing? You're seeing the clock, setting alarms that can let you know not only what time you need to leave, but what time you should stop working can be helpful, because then you don't have to think about watching the clock and having that be a distraction. And if you actually don't have enough time for it, you can always stop what you're doing, whatever your mode is, to notify yourself to work on it the next time you can, whether it's a Post-it note with a Sharpie written, that's my favorite, an alarm with a label, like the next morning when you wake up at 8:30, well, maybe you're awake before 8:30, but at 8:30 is a time slot that you think I could work on this again. Set an alarm if you have an app with a planner, whatever it is, whatever your mode is for keeping yourself organized, write yourself a note to know to do it again. Because if you have that forgetfulness aspect of ADHD, which I do 100%, you could walk in the next day, an hour later, 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, anytime you could forget. So, what is another one? What if you remember something? So, even though we can be forgetful, what if when you're working on something, you remember something else that you forgot to do that you also need to do? This can be a problem for a few reasons. One, if it's something that's of equal importance or more importance, whatever. If it's more important or it's equally important, it may just cause a problem for you to make that decision in the moment. Should I stop what I'm doing now and work on that instead? Or should I keep going? Decision making can be a problem for women with ADHD, for anyone with ADHD, because of the executive dysfunction. So, some things that you could do if something comes up that you also need to do, having either a notebook, or if some people talk to SIRI in their phone, or ALEXA, and tell her to put that in your notes, whatever your note, Google Keep. There's so many apps now, and I'm still trying to find one that I like. I signed up for one. Did I sign up for? There's one that I think, yeah. There's one, I went down that rabbit hole a couple of days ago of trying to decide if I should have one or not, because I haven't found one that I like yet. And I think I might have bought a lifetime plan because it was cheaper than paying even for a year. And anyway, I don't remember if I bought it or not. Okay. Back to whatever your method is. Clearly, I don't have a digital method yet besides my calendar, my Google Calendar and my Apple Calendar. So I'm working on that because I think it could be helpful. Right now, I'm using paper and pen and my planner. I like the Erin Condren planner and a calendar on the wall. So my method isn't perfect, but it's working right now. I just think it could be better if I had a digital one. So that's why I'm still researching that. And I do read all the forums from women with ADHD and what they find helpful. If you have your favorites, let me know. But back to that. So if you have that idea come up to you, I forgot to work on this. Write it down as fast as you can. Whether it's digitally, you have an automated thing do it for you, or you write it down on a piece of paper, a Post-it note. You just need to make sure that whatever you write down your notes to start whatever you're working on, to do that again, put it on a piece of paper that you can find. So have a notebook nearby while you're working. That will be your to-do list. And maybe that's your to-do list notebook, or your planner, or you have a Post-it pad, your calendar, anything. It could be your device. But just if you can write down in some way that you need to keep going with this. Some things are more obvious than others. You might have a project, you're folding clothes and you have this giant mound of clothes everywhere. You're going to walk in, you're going to remember. Other things aren't as obvious. So just make sure that if you don't have enough time to finish, something else came up, you really need to do something else, then make sure you write down what you need to do. If you come up with an idea while you're working and you don't want to forget that, write that down. Write it on any of those things, your notebook, your planner, your journal, your device, your notes on your phone. Just know that anytime you use your computer, your iPad, your phone, whatever it is, you are in danger of getting distracted again. So paper is good because it helps us process our thoughts. If we lose them, it's not good, but try to have a paper system where you won't lose it, where it'll be in one spot, where it'll be a Post-it on the fridge, because the devices are more of a distraction than the paper is. Also, a little tip, and now I'm trying to think of what I was just thinking of. Well, I do have a focus journal. I was going to tell you about that. And I've probably mentioned it before, but I do have a focus journal that you can download for free to print out, or you could do it in Google Docs. But I do recommend printing it out if you can. Put it in a folder or something like that. That's pretty, however you want to organize it. Have it in little stacks of paper or a clipboard. Have that, and it has, the way that it's organized is it has different pages for different things that you need to write down, whether it's things you need to do later, things that you need to buy, things that you need to cook, things, whatever your categories are, ideas that you have for later, things that you don't want to forget. It might sound like, gosh, that's so many categories. Why would I even need them? Once you get working on something, if you have an active brain, every single category will happen. And you have paper to make up your own category if you have to. Because if you have that many thoughts and they're not categorized, it'll just end up in a bunch of scribbles and you won't be able to make sense of it. So that's one idea, is to use my focus journal. You could use your own notebook. If you have a planner or a notebook and you don't want to lose it, that was one of my biggest problems when I had a planner. Was when I went to work every day, the planner was on my desk by my computer. That was easy. At home, I don't have a desk anymore. I gave mine to my son because I just wasn't working at it that much. But if you don't have a desk, if you don't have a hub, maybe you have a spot on your dresser, maybe you have a place that you always will see. But if that is a place that grows, that gets paperwork on it, someone puts mail on top of it, that's not going to be helpful if you lose it. And so I stopped buying a planner for a while because I would lose it all the time. It wasn't really helping me if I didn't know where it was. But now I decided to have a little tote. My husband gave me a little tote for Christmas. It's just something he saw on Amazon, and it's corduroy and it's small. It's kind of like a little planner holder. I looked at that and I thought, what would I use that for? Oh my gosh, my music's going off. Why is it doing that? Sorry about that. You probably don't hear it if you're on audio, but you might hear it if you're watching the video. If I don't push the little headphone thing, my music that goes on at the end will just start playing. And I don't think it shows up on the GarageBand, but I hear it and it's super distracting. So it's so far down at the bottom, I didn't even notice it was still on. But back to a little tote. If you have a bag that's not used for anything else and it can stand up straight, so, backpack might not be as great, but my tote has two little handles. You have something like that, your own bag that you could use, that your planner always goes in. Pins are always in there. Earphones, like if you need headphones, that's kind of my organization hub. It's my desk that's about, 12 inches by 5 inches by, I don't know, however tall it is. But I just either keep it on the kitchen table or on my nightstand. I move it around the house. So when I want to know something, I can find that so much easier than my planner because it's not flat on the ground. And then I don't have to look for a pen. I don't have to walk in another room. And so if I'm working on something, I can have it right there. If I need to leave, someone calls and says, come pick up my son. I can't do that. Whatever it is, you have to pick up your own kids from school. Whatever that is, you can write down really quickly what you're working on so you don't forget. You can put a Post-it note on the top of the planner. Sometimes I put a Post-it note on top of my laptop as I shut it. And the next time I open it, there it is. I know what I'm supposed to work on. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I just go and go and go with my thoughts. Don't we all? Don't we all? But if you're going to write it down, remember that it's not going to be helpful if you can't find it. Just like shopping lists. I used to make a shopping list when I walk in the grocery store, but I'd either forget it at home or lose it before I got in the grocery store or while I was in the grocery store. So the paper is only helpful if you can find it. But other distractions, what are they? What are they? What are they? You could get hyper focused on one of the parts of whatever you are working on. I learned to find peace with that. If you're okay with that, if you're okay with not finishing in the amount of time that you would have, sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's soothing in the middle of the process to just color code all the books on your shelf instead of just cleaning that room. I give you permission to do that. But if you don't have enough time, then maybe you need to just notice what's happening. Okay, I'm going down this little hyper-focus mode. Yeah, it's soothing. Yeah, it's relaxing. But let's see if we can get moving again. I have a friend who I just did an accountability group with, and one of his things was do it as fast as you can. And I thought, that's not my favorite thing to do, but every once in a while I have to do that. And in my mind, I have to just simplify. Okay, do these 3 things, and I get it done. I like to do things a little more slowly, a little more gradually. But if you do need to do it faster, you work for somebody and they need it done faster, then you gotta get yourself into that mode and stop doing the fun things. But just remembering that whatever emotions are going on in your mind or distractions in your mind or even things in your body, those inner distractions can happen no matter what we're doing. Sometimes they're purely physical. They're not in the brain. You're hungry, especially if you're taking stimulants. If you're taking a medication that makes it so you don't eat as often, that might be nice because you can get more done and you're not having to stop to eat. But if your body is lagging, your energy is lagging, your brain isn't working as well because you haven't had any nutrition in a while, that can be a distraction. Having something quick and easy for me is best. I don't always have things on hand, but a protein bar, a smoothie that I can make really fast. It may not be my favorite option, but it can keep me going. So anything that you can have on hand, anything you can talk yourself into. Hydration is important too. Sometimes you're just thirsty and you need to drink water. I know not everybody loves drinking water, but it's important, and drink it in any way that you can. If you need to flavor it somehow or something, or have a sparkling water. But noticing those things that are happening in your body. Sometimes it is the anxiety, the fear, the I'm uncomfortable, I feel insecure about this, I don't know if I'm going to do a good job. Get yourself going on it. I've probably mentioned before, I used to do editing, and I didn't know I had ADHD then, but every time I sat down, opened my computer, started working, I had to stand up, walk around, and get some food. And it was just being so uncomfortable with criticizing someone else, even though that's what I was supposed to be doing. That's the job of editing, is giving them some feedback. But my brain had a hard time with that. And once I recognized that, I could tell myself stuff without getting up, without getting food, although sometimes the food did help because I wasn't on medication then. So I was getting a little bit of dopamine. But doing that, doing some thought work, of it's okay. They asked you, they're paying you to tell them what to do. A little bit of self-talk can be helpful. But body things, sometimes we have to go to the bathroom. Sometimes we don't feel comfortable sitting so long. We have to stand up and walk around. If you're sitting at the computer, you can change how you're seated. You can move your location as long as it's not distracting. You can I lay on my stomach a lot. You can move around. Do what you can to help your body so that you can be in a better condition to get things done. So done is better than perfect. Done is better than none. Some is better than none. But at some point, if you can get yourself to get to work, do that. And those of you who are listening and not watching, I have to tell you that even though I talked to you at the beginning, like people were watching, I paused and I looked at my video and listened to it, and none of the sound worked. I had 40 minutes of me talking without any sound. And I thought, is it something I'm not understanding this video thing? No. I tried making a script of it and a transcript, and it said, there is no sound because it wouldn't let me use my microphone that I use for podcasting or the video at the same time. So anyway, so if you want to go watch the video on YouTube later, you'll only be watching the last 10 minutes. But if you do, even if nobody watches it, honestly, it's given me some experience and it's helping me. It's helping me to feel comfortable in the camera, because when I was doing tests before, I was going crazy over everything. And now that I'm doing it a little bit more, I'm not going crazy over everything. Just going crazy over some of it. But yeah, one more thing about the inner distractions that we have. If you have so much in your mind to begin with, you're going to face an uphill battle. It'll be like everybody else is running the race on flat ground and you're running up a mountain. So if you can clear your mind first, write down what you need to write down. And, like I said, in my focus journal, you can write down, you can do that brain dump idea where you just write down everything that's in your mind. Don't spend too much time with it. Just, set yourself a timer, write down what you can, or talk to somebody, make a Marco Polo or a video on WhatsApp if you do that. That way you're talking to somebody and you get to control how long it lasts. You're just having a soliloquy. Just talk out whatever you need to talk out, pray, talk out loud a little bit. Just think, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. I don't need to worry about that. If you're having a hard time making a decision, do what you need to clear your mind so your decision is made. Because sometimes we just need to decide. Sometimes we need to just choose. If you have a decision complex, it's hard. I have a whole episode about it. Choosing what to order at a restaurant is hard. It's very helpful that there's a waiter or waitress there asking me, because if I didn't have that deadline, I could spend the whole time in the restaurant still not knowing what I wanted to order. And sometimes you just have to decide. So picture that waiter in your mind, waitress. What do they call them now? Server? Is it a male or female if it's a server? Yeah. Picture that person standing there with their little digital thing. Do they even write on paper anymore? And picture it either way and give them your order. Decide what you're going to do. Stick with that decision. And if other ideas come up, write them down. Write them down. So yeah, sometimes it's easy to get going on what we want to, on what we're doing. And it's easy to keep going because we love it so much. Other times we don't love what we're doing. Sometimes we know exactly what we're doing. And once we get going, we just do it. I do that with making bread. It's easy peasy for me. But if you're working on something completely new, or it's always been hard and you still don't know how to do it, it's going to be more of a struggle. Taking the time to learn what you can, but not so much time that you can't get it done is important. I know I've been doing a lot of repeating here, but I feel like I need it because when I'm listening to somebody, I can forget what what I was hearing and having a little review. Or you get distracted while you're listening and you think, oh, I missed that. I'll go back and listen so I, make sure I get all those points. But yeah. So I think that's it for today. It's 2:30. I'm 2:32. I don't usually tell you the time when I'm recording, but just the fact that I started this morning I woke up, I was going to get some things done, and I thought, just go up and record your podcast by 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 5.5 hours later. So yeah, but every day isn't ideal, but we can make progress. And I think that's my main message to you, because there are a lot of helps for women with ADHD. And I think every one of them can be helpful for the right person. Some things will work for some people, some things will work for others. So any idea that you hear, take what seems like it could be helpful to you and try it. Try something else, try something else. And if you find something that's helpful, then you're succeeding. If it's not helpful forever, that's my life. That consistency isn't always there for how helpful things are, or sometimes we need a new method. Sometimes we just need to do it again and our brains process it in a different way. Do you ever do that? You revisit the same idea. So just do what you can to make progress, and you will make progress. All right. I think that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here, as always. I appreciate knowing that you're out there, not only listening, but just going through similar challenges that I have. And just, I just love feeling like we're connected some way. That I will come back with another episode. My episode, I already forgot what it is. My next episode is, I should be ready here and I'm not. Oh, it's about ADHD moms and their kids. Because somebody made a suggestion on YouTube that watched one of my videos. She said, have you made an episode about the effect that having ADHD as a mom can have on children? And I thought, no, I have not thought of that. I've thought of strategies of parenting or, being a busy mom with kids, but not the impact that can have on a child to have a mom with ADHD. So that's what I'm going to talk about next. I've already written up the framework and come up with a lot of ideas, not only on how it can affect a child who doesn't have ADHD, but how it can affect a child who does have ADHD, because there's a good chance that at least one of your children could have ADHD if you do. So that'll be the next episode. But until then, thanks for being here. If you want to go to my website, I am still in the process of getting my freebies all on there in a way that you can find them and in a way that makes sense, because they do kind of go together. But there's the focus journal that I talked about in this episode. There's a focus guide. And I didn't put that on there just by itself. I think it's on Pinterest that you can get it by itself. It's not that you can't, but I just thought it would be too confusing to have like focus guide, focus journal. So I have focus guide on there, and then the 5-day focus course that includes the focus guide and the focus journal. And so if you sign up for either one of those, you'll get an email that gives you those. And the 5-day focus course actually is a Monday through Friday little course where you just work on it for about a half hour a day. It's not lengthy at all, but you can spend as much time with it if you wanted. You could take each task on a Monday and use it for a 3-hour project or a 6-hour project or something. It doesn't have to be a half hour, but that's how much of what I ask you to do involves. And then you can use it for more of what you're focusing on. But yeah, both of those things are on my website, renee-allen.com. And if you have any suggestions for anything else you need help with, or any ideas for future podcasts, I will look into that for you. If I don't know something about it, I'll learn about it and be able to share that with you. But anyway, thank you for being here, and I'll be back in a couple days. And maybe I'll be better at the videoing and have a whole video with the podcast on it. We shall see. Thanks for being here. Bye. Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause. No time for a pause.
of sound has yet been found, but not by me.